She insulted him without restraint, but the human simply turned and left. The massive space station called Kepler Prime floated in the darkness between stars. It was neutral ground where all species could meet safely. Today, it hosted the most important gathering in the galaxy, the annual technology summit of the Galactic Council. Dr. Marcus Chen walked through the station's wide halls. His simple black suit looked plain next to the colorful robes and armor of other delegates. At 45 years old, Marcus had spent most of his life studying how to make dead planets into living worlds. He was the only human invited to speak at this summit. The main conference hall was enormous. Thousands of beings from dozens of different species filled the seats. Some looked almost human, while others were completely alien. The air buzzed with excitement and the sound of many different languages being translated by computer systems. Marcus stepped onto the speaking platform. The lights dimmed, and a holographic display appeared behind him. His hands were steady as he began his presentation. "Good morning, delegates," Marcus said into his microphone. His voice was calm and clear. "I am Dr. Marcus Chen from Earth. Today I want to share our work on sustainable terraforming." The first hologram showed a barren, rocky planet. It looked dead and lifeless. "This is Kepler 442b before human colonization," Marcus explained. "No atmosphere suitable for most life forms. Surface temperature of -40 degrees. Radiation levels that would kill most species in hours." He pressed a button, and the image changed. Now the same planet was green and blue, with white clouds swirling around it. "This is the same planet 5 years later. We used a combination of atmospheric processors, bacterial introduction, and solar mirrors to create a stable ecosystem. The process requires no rare minerals and produces zero toxic waste." Murmurs rippled through the audience. Some delegates leaned forward with interest. Others looked skeptical. Marcus continued his presentation for 20 minutes. He showed planet after planet that humans had transformed. Each time he explained the simple, cost-effective methods they used. He never claimed that human methods were the best. Instead, he talked about cooperation and sharing knowledge. "We believe," Marcus said as he finished, "that every species has something to teach others. Our methods work for us, but we are always eager to learn from your experiences and wisdom." The presentation ended to polite applause. Marcus smiled and bowed slightly. "I will now take questions." Several delegates raised their hands. Marcus answered questions about soil composition, atmospheric pressure, and bacterial cultures. Each answer was detailed, but humble. He often said things like, "That's an excellent question," and "We're still learning about that ourselves." Then, from the back of the hall, a figure stood up. Commander Zixthera of the Velari Empire was 7 feet tall. Her skin was deep purple, and her eyes glowed with an inner light. 4 arms emerged from her broad shoulders, each ending in sharp claws. The Velari were known throughout the galaxy as master warriors and engineers. Their technology was among the most advanced in known space. "I have a question," Zixthera said. Her voice was loud and harsh, cutting through the quiet hall like a blade. "Of course, Commander," Marcus replied politely. "Please go ahead." Zixthera stepped into the aisle between the seats. Her 4 arms crossed over her chest in a gesture that everyone recognized as aggressive. "Why are we wasting time listening?" "To primitive scavengers?" she demanded. The hall fell silent. Every delegate turned to stare. Translators worked overtime as shocked whispers spread through the crowd. Marcus blinked once, but his expression remained calm. "I'm sorry, Commander." "Could you repeat your question?" "You heard me perfectly, human," Zixthera snarled. "Your species barely crawled out of your single star system 50 years ago. You have no business speaking at this summit among advanced civilizations." She began walking toward the platform, her heavy footsteps echoing in the silent hall. "Look at these so-called achievements," she continued, gesturing at the hologram still floating behind Marcus. You take years to accomplish what the Velthari can do in months. Your methods are backwards, inefficient, and embarrassingly simple. Marcus stood perfectly still. His hands remained at his sides. His breathing was steady and quiet. The Velthari Empire has perfected terraforming technology that makes your efforts look like children playing with mud, Zixthera declared. We can reshape entire worlds in weeks, not years. We can create perfect atmospheres, not these messy, unpredictable ecosystems you call success. The commander reached the front of the hall and stared up at Marcus on the platform. Her glowing eyes were filled with contempt. I question whether Earth's admission to this council was anything more than a mistake born of misplaced pity, she said. Your species contributes nothing that we cannot do better, faster, and more efficiently. The silence stretched on. Every being in the hall waited to see what would happen next. Would the human defend himself? Would he argue back? Would he call for support from the council mediators? Marcus looked down at Commander Zixthera for a long moment. Then he looked out at the audience of thousands. He could see shock, embarrassment, and anticipation on faces throughout the crowd. Finally, Marcus nodded once. "Thank you for your perspective, Commander," he said quietly. Then he turned to his presentation materials. Slowly and carefully, he began disconnecting his equipment. He packed his data tablets into his carrying case. He rolled up his notes and slid them into a tube. Every movement was calm and deliberate. The audience watched in stunned silence as Dr. Marcus Chen finished packing. He picked up his case, stepped down from the platform, and walked toward the exit. He passed Commander Zixthera without looking at her. He nodded politely to a few delegates he recognized in the front rows. His footsteps were quiet on the floor. At the door, Marcus paused and turned back to face the assembly one last time. "Thank you all for your attention today," he said. "I hope you have a productive rest of the summit." Then he walked out of the hall, leaving behind thousands of confused delegates and one very frustrated Velthari commander. The door closed behind him with a soft whisper, and Dr. Marcus Chen disappeared into the corridors of Kepler Prime. In the conference hall, nobody moved for a full minute. Then the whispers began. The news spread through Kepler Prime like wildfire. Within hours, every delegate knew about the incident in the main conference hall. By the next day, the story had reached every corner of the galaxy through quantum communication networks. Ambassador Thexlin of the Kethmar Collective sat in his quarters, reading the reports on his datapad. The Kethmar were a methodical species, known for their careful analysis of every situation. Thexlin had watched the entire incident from the third row. "Most curious," he muttered to himself, adjusting his glasses with one of his 6 thin fingers. The human showed no anger, no embarrassment, no defensive response at all. His aide, a younger Kethmar named Voxtel, entered the room carrying more reports. "Ambassador, the communication networks are buzzing with commentary," Voxtel said. "Most species are interpreting the human's response as an admission of weakness." Thexlin nodded slowly. "And what does our intelligence division think?" "They are divided," Voxtel admitted. "Some believe the humans lack the courage to defend themselves. Others think there might be more to this story." Across the station, similar conversations were happening in dozens of languages. The Sylphid delegation, with their plant-like appearance and connection to nature, discussed the incident in their quarters filled with growing vines and flowers. "The tree that bends in the storm survives when the rigid oak breaks," said Elder. Bloom Whisper, her voice like wind through leaves. Her assistant, a younger Sylphid named Petal Song, swayed gently as she spoke. "But was this bending or breaking, Elder?" "Time will tell, young one. Time will tell." Meanwhile, in the Velthari section of the station, Commander Zixthera was holding court with several military officers from allied species. Her quarters were decorated with weapons and battle honors from a dozen campaigns. "Did you see how quickly he ran?" Zixthera laughed, her forearms gesturing dramatically. One challenge to his claims and the human fled like a scared animal. Captain Mordak of the Saurian Navy, a reptilian species known for their aggressive expansion, nodded in agreement. It confirms what we have always suspected about the humans. They were admitted to the Council too early. They are not ready to stand among true warrior races. Exactly, Zixthera said, her eyes glowing brighter with satisfaction. The Velari Empire has always maintained that strength must be proven, not given as charity. But not everyone was convinced by the Velari interpretation. Dr. Zephyra, a member of the Cerebrum Collective, sat alone in the station's library. The Cerebrum were a species of pure intellect, their large brains housed in small, fragile bodies. They valued knowledge above all else. Dr. Zephyra reviewed the video recording of the incident for the 7th time. Her massive eyes, taking up most of her head, focused on every detail of Dr. Chen's movements. "Fascinating," she whispered, to herself. "No increase in heart rate, no tension in facial muscles, no signs of stress or fear at all." She made notes on her tablet with her thin, precise fingers. Either this human has remarkable emotional control, or he knew something the rest of us did not. 3 days after the incident, the expected happened. Most delegates assumed Dr. Marcus Chen would return to Earth in shame. Transport schedules showed a human ship preparing to leave Kepler Prime. But Dr. Chen was not on that ship. Instead, early in the morning of the 4th day, he appeared at the Kethmar research vessel docked at Kepler Prime. Ambassador Thexelin met him at the airlock, surprised by the unexpected visit. "Dr. Chen," Thexelin said formally, "this is unexpected." Marcus smiled politely. "Good morning, Ambassador. I apologize for the early hour. I was wondering if you might have time to see something interesting." Thexelin's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of curiosity among his people. "Something interesting?" "A small demonstration," Marcus said. "It would only take an hour of your time." The Kethmar were naturally curious about any new information. Against his better judgment, Thexelin agreed. 2 days later, Marcus appeared at the Sylphid bioship. Elder Bloom Whisper received him in her garden chamber, surrounded by the sweet scent of alien flowers. "Human Chen," she said, her voice carrying the sound of wind through grass. "You honor us with your visit." "The honor is mine, Elder," Marcus replied with a respectful bow. "I was hoping you might like to see something that could interest your people." Elder Bloom Whisper tilted her head, leaves rustling softly. "What manner of thing?" "A way of growing," Marcus said simply. "Growing in places where others believe nothing can grow." The next week, Marcus visited the research station of the Cerebrum Collective. Dr. Zephyra met him in her laboratory, filled with complex mathematical equations floating in holographic displays. "Dr. Chen," she said, her voice high and precise, "your visit is most intriguing. Our analysis of your recent interaction raised several questions." "I imagine it did," Marcus said with a slight smile. "Would you like to see some answers?" Each visit lasted exactly 1 hour. Marcus would arrive alone, speak privately with the senior scientists, and leave quietly. He shared no details with other species about what he discussed. He made no official statements about his visits. But something strange began to happen. After Marcus's visit to the Kethmar, their delegation suddenly requested access to the Council's database of failed terraforming projects. They began downloading thousands of files about planets that had been deemed unsuitable for colonization. The Sylphids started asking questions about worlds with extreme environmental conditions. They wanted data on planets with toxic atmospheres, extreme radiation, and unstable weather patterns. Dr. Zephyra and the Cerebrum Collective began requesting economic data about resource costs and terraforming efficiency. They downloaded every human research paper available in the Council databases. Ambassador Thexelin was overheard telling his aide, Schedule a meeting with our xenobiology department. Tell them to review everything we know about human adaptation techniques. Elder Bloom Whisper was seen in deep conversation with her botanical experts, discussing something that made them all sway with excitement. Dr. Zephyra spent 3 days running calculations on her personal computer, occasionally muttering things like remarkable efficiency, and we never considered that approach. Meanwhile, the Velari continued to celebrate their victory. Commander Zixathara gave interviews to galactic news networks, declaring that the incident proved human weakness. She called for a review of Earth's council membership, but other delegates began to notice the strange behavior of the species Marcus had visited. Quiet conversations started in the diplomatic quarters. Questions were whispered in hallways. What did the humans show them? Why are they suddenly so interested in human research? What aren't they telling us? Back on Earth, the human government remained completely silent about the incident. No official response was issued. No diplomatic protests were filed. The silence was so complete that it began to worry other species. Was Earth planning something? Were they ashamed? Or did they simply not care about the insult? Dr. Marcus Chen, meanwhile, had disappeared from public view entirely. His name appeared on no passenger manifests. He was not registered at any hotels or research stations. It was as if he had vanished into the vast darkness of space, but the ripples of his quiet visits continued to spread, creating waves that would soon change everything. Ambassador Thexelin stared at the holographic display floating above his desk. The data he was looking at made no sense. According to every calculation his people had ever done, the world on the screen should be completely dead. Computer, confirm the coordinates, he said to his ship's AI system. Coordinates confirmed, Ambassador. This is planet designation XK739, located in the Outer Rim sector. Thexlin rubbed his temple with 2 of his 6 fingers. 3 days ago, Dr. Marcus Chen had visited his ship. The human had asked one simple question. Would you like to see something interesting? Then Marcus had shown him this. The planet XK739 had been surveyed by the Kethmar 15 years ago. They had classified it as uninhabitable Class 5. The gravity was 4 times Earth normal. The atmosphere was mostly methane and sulfur compounds. The surface temperature reached 200 degrees during the day and dropped to -150 at night. No species in the galaxy would want to live there. But according to the current sensor readings, there were cities on that planet. Not just buildings, but thriving cities with millions of inhabitants. The atmospheric readings showed breathable air. The surface showed green vegetation and bodies of water. This is impossible, Thexelin whispered. His aide, Voxtel, entered the room carrying more data tablets. Ambassador, I have completed the analysis you requested. And? The energy signatures are definitely human. The cities are using human technology. But, sir, Voxtel hesitated. What is it? The planet has been inhabited for 12 years. Our records show it was surveyed and rejected by 3 different species during that time. None of them detected any signs of life. Thexelin stood up slowly. Are you telling me that humans have been living on that world for 12 years and no one noticed? That appears to be correct, sir. Meanwhile, in her bioship floating near Kepler Prime, Elder Bloom Whisper was having a similar conversation with her botanical specialists. Show me again, she said, her voice rustling like leaves in a gentle breeze. The hologram displayed a moon orbiting a gas giant. The moon was tidally locked, meaning one side always faced the planet while the other faced space. One side was permanently frozen, the other permanently burning. Between them was a narrow band where temperatures could support life, but the constant radiation from the gas giant made it deadly to most species. We surveyed this moon 7 years ago, said Petal Song, swaying as she spoke. We classified it as impossible to terraform. The radiation alone would kill our people in hours. And yet, Elder Bloom Whisper asked. Human agricultural stations cover the entire habitable zone. They are growing food crops that can feed millions. The radiation that should kill them is being used to power their energy systems. Elder Bloom Whisper was quiet for a long moment. How many people live there? 3 million humans, Elder. 3 million people living where we thought nothing could survive. Dr. Zefara of the Cerebrum Collective was running her calculations for the 15th time. The numbers kept coming out the same, but they challenged everything her people believed about terraforming. "Computer, display the economic analysis," she said. Charts and graphs appeared around her, showing resource costs, time investments, and efficiency ratings. The average Cerebrum terraforming project costs 847 billion credits and takes 8 years to complete, the computer announced in its precise voice. And the human projects? The average human terraforming project costs 12 billion credits and takes 5 years to complete. Dr. Zefara's large eyes blinked rapidly. That cannot be correct. Run the analysis again. Analysis confirmed. Human terraforming projects average 70 times lower cost and 38% faster completion. But how is that possible? Analyzing human methodology, the computer said. Key difference identified. Human projects focus on adaptation rather than replacement. Dr. Zefara leaned forward. Explain. Cerebrum methodology. Replace existing planetary conditions with optimal conditions for cerebrum life. Human methodology. Adapt planetary conditions to work with human life while maintaining existing beneficial elements. The computer displayed 2 side-by-side comparisons. The Cerebrum approach showed completely transforming a planet's atmosphere, gravity, and surface conditions. The human approach showed smaller modifications that worked with the planet's natural features. Additional factor, the computer continued. Humans consistently choose planets that other species have rejected as unsuitable. This eliminates territorial conflicts and reduces initial acquisition costs to 0. Dr. Zefara sat back in her chair. They are not competing with us for the same worlds. Correct. Humans appear to prefer planets that other species consider worthless. The revelation was spreading through the 3 ships like a slow shock wave. Each species was discovering the same impossible truth. Humans were not primitive. They were doing something completely different. Ambassador Thexlin called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. The conference room of the Kethmar ship was filled with confused and excited scientists. "Show them what we have learned," Thexlin ordered. Voxtel activated the main display. A map of the galaxy appeared, showing the territories of different species marked in different colors. "These are the currently inhabited systems," Voxtel explained. "Each color represents a different species territory." The map showed large areas of overlapping colors where species competed for the same desirable worlds. But scattered throughout the map were small green dots, human colonies. "Now watch this," Voxtel said. "Computer. Highlight all planets that have been surveyed and rejected by at least one major species in the last 50 years. Thousands of red dots appeared on the map. They represented worlds that various species had looked at and decided were not worth colonizing. Computer overlay human colonial expansion over the same period. The green dots marking human colonies perfectly matched the red dots marking rejected worlds. "They are living everywhere we decided not to go," one scientist whispered. "Not just living," Thexlin corrected. "Thriving." Elder Bloom Whisper was reaching similar conclusions in her bioship. Her specialists had identified 47 human colonies on worlds that the Sylphids had classified as impossible to terraform. "How did we miss this?" Petal Song asked. "Because we were not looking," Elder Bloom Whisper replied. "When we survey a world and decide it is unsuitable, we do not continue to monitor it. Why would we watch a world we cannot use? But the humans saw opportunity where we saw only problems. Dr. Zefara was making the most shocking discovery of all. Her computer had analyzed the economic impact of human colonial expansion. Computer, calculate the total value of resources currently under human control. Processing. Analysis complete. Total estimated value. 2.7 trillion credits in rare minerals, 4.1 trillion credits in energy production, 890 billion credits in agricultural output. Dr. Zefara's mouth fell open. That would make Earth one of the wealthiest civilizations in the galaxy. Correct. However, this wealth is distributed across 847 colonies that other species do not monitor or consider valuable. They have built an empire, Dr. Zefara said quietly. An empire made of worlds that no one else wanted. The computer displayed one more piece of information. Additional observation. Human colonial expansion shows no signs of slowing. Current projections indicate humans will control 40% of all available worlds within 50 years, with zero territorial conflicts. How is that possible? Because they are taking the 60% of worlds that no other species wants. As the three ships shared their discoveries through encrypted communications, a new picture began to emerge. Humans were not primitive scavengers, struggling to keep up with advanced civilizations. They were playing a completely different game. While every other species in the galaxy fought over the same small percentage of ideal worlds, humans had quietly claimed the vast majority of planets that everyone else had ignored. They were not weaker than other species. They were stronger in a way that no one had understood. They found solutions where others saw only problems. They built homes where others saw only obstacles. They created wealth from what others considered worthless. And they had done it all so quietly that no one had noticed until now. The question that haunted all three research teams was the same. If humans could do this much with worlds no one else wanted, what else were they capable of? What other surprises were waiting in the parts of the galaxy that everyone else had written off as empty space? Commander Zixathera stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Iron Talon. Through the massive viewing window, she could see 12 other Velari warships flying in perfect formation. Their dark hulls gleamed with weapon arrays and shield generators. Status. Report, she commanded, her four arms crossed behind her back. All ships ready for action, Commander, reported Captain Velnox, her second in command. We will reach the Sigma Draconis system in 6 hours. Zixathera's eyes glowed with satisfaction. For 2 weeks, she had endured whispers and questions about the human incident at Kepler Prime. Some delegates had started asking strange questions about human colonies and terraforming methods. A few species were even requesting meetings with Earth representatives. It was time to remind the galaxy why the Velari Empire was feared and respected. The Sigma Draconis system had been a source of conflict for 20 years. 3 major powers claimed ownership: the Saurian Navy, the Crystalline Confederation, and the Velari Empire. The system contained 4 planets rich in rare minerals and energy sources. Diplomatic talks had failed repeatedly, with each species refusing to back down. Today, we end this pointless debate, Zixathera announced to her crew. The Velari will claim Sigma Draconis by right of superior force. Let the galaxy see what real strength looks like. Her crew roared their approval. The Velari were born warriors, and they had been waiting years for this moment. Captain Velnox studied his tactical display. Commander, what about the humans? What about them? Zixathera asked with contempt. Intelligence reports show human ships in the system. They might interfere. Zixathera laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. Humans? After that? Coward fled from a simple challenge at Kepler Prime. They will run the moment they see our ships. 6 hours later, the Velari fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sigma Draconis system. Zixathara expected to see saurian and crystalline warships preparing for battle. Instead, she found something completely unexpected. "What am I looking at?" she demanded. The main screen showed the 4 inner planets of the system, the valuable worlds that everyone had been fighting over. But surrounding them was something no one had predicted. The asteroid belt between the 3rd and 4th planets was filled with massive industrial stations. Huge solar collectors orbited the system's star. Mining platforms worked steadily throughout the outer system. "Commander," her sensor officer reported nervously, "I am detecting approximately 2 million human life signs in this system." "Impossible," Zixathara snarled. "The humans have no claim here. This system belongs to the major powers." Scanning all facilities. "Commander, the industrial output from these stations is enormous. They are producing enough refined materials to supply a dozen colonies." Captain Velnox pointed to the tactical display. "Commander, look at the energy readings from those solar collectors. They are generating more power than our entire home fleet." Zixathara stared at the display. The humans had not taken the 4 valuable planets that everyone was fighting over. Instead, they had built a vast industrial empire in the spaces between planets, the asteroid belts, the outer moons, the gas giant rings that no one else had considered worth claiming. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "From which ship?" Zixathara asked, expecting to hear from saurian or crystalline forces. "It is coming from Mining Station Alpha 7, Commander. The transmission is from Dr. Marcus Chen." Zixathara's 4 fists clenched simultaneously. "Put him on screen." The main display flickered, and Dr. Marcus Chen appeared. He was sitting in what looked like an observation deck, with stars visible through large windows behind him. He wore simple work clothes and looked completely calm. "Commander Zixathara," Marcus said politely, "welcome to Sigma Draconis. I hope your journey was pleasant." "Human," Zixathara growled. "You have no business in this system. The Velari Empire is here to claim our rightful territory." "I understand," Marcus replied with a slight nod. "The 4 inner planets have indeed been disputed for many years. Are you here to settle that conflict?" "We are here to end it," Zixathara declared. "The Velari will take control of this system by right of conquest." "I see," Marcus said thoughtfully. "And which planets exactly are you planning to claim?" The question confused Zixathara for a moment. "All of them, obviously, the entire system. Even the ones where people already live?" "What people?" Zixathara demanded. "The only inhabitants here are a few mining crews and research stations." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Commander, I think there might be some confusion. Would you like me to send you our current population census?" Before Zixathara could answer, data began flowing to her ship's computers. Her tactical officer's eyes widened as he read the information. "Commander," he said quietly, "the humans have 12 permanent colonies in this system, 2 million inhabitants across 47 industrial stations, 31 mining platforms, and 16 agricultural facilities." "That is impossible," Zixathara said. "We have been monitoring this system for 20 years. "You have been monitoring the 4 inner planets," Marcus corrected gently. "We are not on those planets, Commander. We are on the asteroids, the outer moons, and the gas giant rings. We are in the places that the 3 major powers chose not to claim." Captain Velnox was studying the sensor readings more carefully. "Commander, the humans have been here for 15 years. They have established a complete industrial infrastructure throughout the outer system." "Why was this not reported?" Zixathara demanded. "Because no one was looking," her intelligence officer admitted. "All surveillance focused on the contested planets. The outer system was classified as worthless space." On the screen, Dr. Marcus Chen waited patiently while the Velari crew absorbed this information. "Dr. Chen," Zixathara said finally, "you will remove your people from this system immediately." The Velthari Empire claims all territory here. I am afraid that might be difficult, Commander, Marcus replied calmly. You see, we have legal mining rights, agricultural permits, and settlement documentation for all our facilities. Everything was filed properly with the Galactic Council 15 years ago. Legal rights? Zixthera's voice rose. To what? To the asteroid belt, the outer moons of the gas giants, and the ring systems, Marcus explained, since no major power had claimed. These areas, they were available for colonization under standard council procedures. Captain Velnox was checking the legal databases. Commander, he is correct. The humans filed all proper documentation. No one objected because no one considered those areas valuable. They are not valuable, Zixthara shouted. With respect, Commander, Marcus said, that is a matter of perspective. These worthless areas currently produce 40% of the rare minerals used by the galactic market. Our agricultural stations feed 6 different species across 12 systems. Our energy production could power the entire Velthari home fleet. The bridge fell silent. Zixthara stared at the human on her screen, trying to understand what had happened. You built an empire, she said slowly, from garbage. We built a home, Marcus corrected, from opportunity. The tactical officer spoke up nervously. Commander, we have another problem. If we attack human colonies, we would be the aggressors, against peaceful civilians. The Galactic Council would have to respond. They are not on our planets, Zixthara said, but her voice lacked its earlier confidence. No, Marcus agreed. We are on the worlds you did not want. For the first time in her military career, Commander Zixthara did not know what to do. She had come to claim territory through strength, but the humans were not standing in her way. They had simply made themselves at home in the spaces she had ignored. How do we fight an enemy that is not competing with us? Captain Velnox whispered. On the screen, Dr. Marcus Chen smiled slightly. Commander, the 4 inner planets are still available for your dispute with the Saurians and Crystallines. We have never had any interest in those worlds. Why not? Zixthara asked without thinking. Because they would require us to fight you for them, Marcus said simply. We prefer to build rather than destroy. The silence stretched on as the Velthari fleet hung motionless in space, surrounded by the quiet industry of 2 million humans who had somehow built a civilization in the places no one else had thought to look. Zixthara realized she was facing something she had never encountered before, an opponent who refused to be her enemy. The emergency alarm echoed through every ship in the Sigma Draconis system. Commander Zixthara's fleet, Dr. Chen's industrial stations, and even the distant Saurian and crystalline vessels all received the same terrifying message. Priority alert. To all vessels, the Galactic Council's emergency broadcast announced. Massive stellar instability detected in the Kepler Prime system. Solar flare activity has increased by 400%. All inhabited worlds in the system are now in immediate danger. Zixthara stared at the data streaming onto her screens. Kepler Prime, the neutral station where the technology summit had taken place just weeks ago, was about to be destroyed. The star was experiencing a rare stellar event that would make the entire system uninhabitable for centuries. How many people? She asked her tactical officer. 47 billion beings across 6 inhabited worlds, Commander. 3 different species call that system home. Captain Velnox looked grim. Commander, evacuation would be impossible. There are not enough ships in the entire galaxy to move that many people in time. On her communication screen, Dr. Marcus Chen was reading the same reports. His face remained calm, but Zixthara could see him thinking rapidly. Dr. Chen, she said, it seems our territorial dispute has become irrelevant. Yes, Marcus replied, quietly. Commander, how quickly can your ships reach Kepler Prime? 6 hours at maximum speed. Why? Because I have an idea, but I will need help. 2 hours later, the most unlikely fleet in galactic history was racing through hyperspace toward Kepler Prime. Velari warships flew alongside human industrial vessels. Saurian battle cruisers escorted crystalline science ships. Even the normally peaceful sylphids had sent their fastest bioships. Marcus Chen stood in the command center of his flagship, surrounded by holographic displays showing the dying star system. Commander Zixathara materialized beside him as a hologram, transmitted from her own ship. "Explain your plan, human," she said. For the first time, her voice carried no contempt. "The traditional solution would be evacuation," Marcus began. "But, as your officer correctly noted, it is impossible to move 47 billion people in time." "Then what do you propose?" Marcus gestured to the displays around him. "We do not move the people. We move the problem." Ambassador Thexlin's voice joined the conversation from his ship. "That makes no logical sense, Dr. Chen." "Actually, it does," Dr. Zafara interjected from her vessel. "I have been studying Dr. Chen's methods. Humans do not avoid problems, they solve them." Marcus nodded. "The star is producing too much energy. Too quickly. This energy will make the planets uninhabitable. But energy can be redirected." Elder Bloom Whisper's gentle voice rustled through the communications. "You speak of controlling a star, Dr. Chen. Is such a thing possible?" "Not controlling," Marcus corrected. "Harvesting." He activated a new display showing the Kepler Prime system. "We surround the star with energy collectors, massive versions of the solar arrays we use in our colonies. We absorb the excess energy and redirect it safely into space." "Impossible," Zixathara said immediately. "The scale would be enormous. It would take years to build enough collectors." "Under normal circumstances, yes," Marcus agreed. "But we are not working under normal circumstances." Captain Veldnox spoke up from the Velari flagship. "What do you mean?" Marcus smiled slightly. "Commander, how many manufacturing stations do you have in your fleet?" 17 heavy industrial ships, Zixathara replied suspiciously. "And the crystallines have 34 fabrication vessels. The Saurians have 21 construction ships. My people brought 47 mobile factories from Sigma Draconis." Dr. Zafara's voice showed excitement. "You want to build the collector array in space using our combined industrial capacity." "Exactly," Marcus said. "Each species contributes what they do best. Velari military efficiency for coordination, crystalline precision manufacturing for sensitive components, Saurian heavy construction for the main structures, human adaptation techniques for installation in impossible conditions." "And my people?" Elder Bloom Whisper asked. "Bioorganic components that can self-repair and adapt," Marcus explained. "The collectors will need to function in conditions no artificial system has ever faced." For a moment, the communication channel was silent. Then Zixathara spoke. "How long would this take? If every species works together, sharing resources and knowledge freely, we could have the first collector arrays in place within 72 hours. "That is still not enough time," Captain Velnox observed. "No," Marcus agreed. "But it would be enough to save the 3 most populated worlds. We start with those, then expand the array to protect the others." Dr. Zafara was already running calculations. "The mathematics are sound. With our combined industrial output, this plan could work." Ambassador Thexlin spoke carefully. "Dr. Chen, you are asking species who have been competitors for centuries to share their most advanced technologies." "Yes," Marcus said simply. "Why should we trust each other with such secrets?" Marcus looked directly at Zixathara's hologram. "Because 47 billion people are going to die if we do not." The next 72 hours became legendary in galactic history. Species that had never cooperated before worked side by side in the vacuum of space. Velari engineers took orders from human supervisors. Crystalline technicians shared fabrication secrets with Saurian builders. Sylphid bioorganics merged seamlessly with artificial systems. Commander Zix Thara found herself working 18-hour shifts alongside Dr. Marcus Chen, coordinating the massive construction effort. She watched him solve problem after problem with quiet efficiency. When crystalline components failed in the stellar radiation, he suggested modifications using Velari materials. When Saurian construction fell behind schedule, he reorganized. Work teams using military logistics he had learned from studying her own tactical manuals. "How do you know so much about our methods?" she asked during a brief rest period. "I study," Marcus replied. "Every species has something to teach. The Velari excel at organization and efficiency. The Kethamar are brilliant at detailed analysis. The Sylphids understand natural systems better than anyone." "And humans?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Humans see connections that others miss. We find ways to make different things work together." On the third day, the first collector array activated. A massive ring of interconnected energy absorbers surrounded Kepler Prime's unstable star. Immediately, the deadly radiation levels around the three most populated worlds began to drop. "It is working," Dr. Zefara announced from her monitoring station. "Energy absorption is at 78% efficiency. More arrays came online hour by hour. The combined industrial might of 5 species had achieved what none could have done alone. By the end of the week, all 6 worlds were protected. A month later, the crisis was over. The star had stabilized, and the collector arrays were providing clean energy to power dozens of star systems. The project had not only saved 47 billion lives, but had created the largest cooperative engineering achievement in galactic history. Commander Zix Thara stood once again on the bridge of her flagship, but this time she was looking at construction reports instead of tactical displays. The Energy Collector project had grown into a permanent cooperative effort between the 5 species. Dr. Marcus Chen appeared on her communication screen. "Commander," he said politely, "I wanted to thank you for your leadership during the crisis." "I have a question for you, Dr. Chen," Zix Thara said. "Of course. At Kepler Prime, when I insulted you and your people, why did you simply walk away? Why did you not defend yourself?" Marcus considered the question carefully. "Commander, you were trying to start a fight about who was better. I was more interested in actually being better." "I do not understand. If I had argued with you, if I had defended myself or attacked your claims, what would have happened?" Zix Thara thought about it. "We would have had a diplomatic incident. The summit would have ended in conflict." "Exactly," Marcus said. "And 47 billion people would have died 3 weeks later because we would not have been working together." The realization hit Zix Thara like a physical blow. "You knew this would happen?" "No," Marcus replied. "But I knew that conflict would make cooperation impossible. I knew that proving I was right would make it harder to do what was right. So you chose to appear weak. I chose to be strong in a way that would matter when it counted." Commander Zix Thara looked out at the stars, where human industrial stations worked alongside Velari manufacturing ships, building a better future for the galaxy. "Dr. Chen," she said finally, "I owe you an apology." "No, Commander," Marcus replied with a smile. "You owe the galaxy something much more valuable than an apology." "What is that?" "You owe it your continued leadership in our cooperative efforts. We have proven that we are stronger together than apart, but maintaining that cooperation will require leaders who have learned to see strength in new ways." Zix Thara straightened her shoulders. "I accept that responsibility." As the communication ended, she realized that the human had taught her the most important lesson of her military career. True strength was not about winning fights, but about preventing the need to fight at all. The galaxy was changing, and Commander Zix Thara was ready to help lead that change.